All right, we're live. Okay. Welcome. So, as I said, this is Learning to Teach with Google. This is just a very quick, not super in-depth sampler of a lot of different things you can do with Google Apps in the secondary education classroom. A lot of the stuff would also work in primary, the elementary or whatever. But the examples I use are all stuff for secondary. So I'll give a little bit of background about me. As you see here, by the way, I'm using Google Sites, which is a website builder that it's Google's website builder. So my name is Kerry Chandler. I grew up in Conroe, Texas. I attended Texas A&M University and graduated in 2004 with a bachelor's in history. And then I went on and I got my master's in history at Texas State University in San Marcos. I did alternative certification after that and started teaching. I moved to Houston, and I taught 7th grade and 8th grade and 9th grade and 11th grade all in the same year at a charter school in 2nd Ward in Houston. And then I moved from there to just teaching 11th grade and then 11th grade AP. And then I finally made it back to where I went to high school, my alma mater, Conroe High School in Conroe ISD, where I teach 11th grade U.S. history and dual credit U.S. history. I also am an adjunct at Lone Star College. I teach one night class a semester of just the freshman history seminar. So my technology background, not very much formal. I just been a computer nerd since I was a kid. Taking apart, putting together computers. One of my first jobs in high school is I got a job doing graphic design for a local business, and then web design. And in college, I worked in IT at a not a help desk, a computer lab, just kind of as a computer lab monitor. And I worked teaching professors how to integrate technology, because this was 2001. And professors, mostly for the most part, were just getting used to using email, and we're not doing web pages and stuff. So I did that kind of stuff. I worked for a major international computer supplier for businesses. Worked in their repair department and learned how to repair computer components, soldering, and all that kind of stuff. And then, once I started teaching, I just got really into education and really started working on a face-to-face basis with the educational technology departments in the different schools that I worked in, and just kind of really got into this and started doing professional development. So that's me. If you are on the website, by the way, you can follow me on Google Plus or Twitter by clicking those big buttons there. So what I made here is I made this website pretty recently on Google Sites. I actually just finished it I think Monday. So, but I've been working on it for a couple of months. And what I did was I used one of their templates, which we're going to look at in a minute. This is a template for making a sample Wikipedia, like faux Wikipedia, a wiki. And what I did is I just have different pages for the different apps that we're going to be learning about today. And so I'm going to kind of go through those and show you basically what is the app, just kind of introduce it, how it works, and then give you some examples of how to use it or how I've used it in the classroom. And if you have any questions, then just interrupt me and start asking. Did you have a question? Oh, I thought you were saying. Okay. If anybody has a question, just interrupt me and just start asking questions. That's great. All right. I figure since we're on a Google Sites website anyway, we'll start with sites. And so over here, and you can follow along on your computer if you want to, or you can watch either way. I always forget on my Mac the scroll wheel is backwards because it's like the magic mouse stuff. It's scrolling down. It's also going to. Okay, so Google Sites is Google's web page builder. It is a little more limited than some like programs you might buy, like Dreamweaver. It's a little less flashy than some Flash web page builders like Wix that you may have seen, but it's a really good, solid web design program that you can basically make a good web page right out of the box without having any kind of technical knowledge at all. as long as you know how to use a computer. It's what you call, for the most part, it's what you call a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. That's that terminology for that kind of program. Again, it's not going to get it looking really snazzy does take a little bit of know-how, but what I found working on it is anytime I didn't know how to do something, a quick Google search found the answer for me within seconds. And so I think it's pretty good. So whenever you go to make a site, the first thing you do is you can pick a template, and they have a large range of okay, no, go back. Here, I'm just going to get behind here. My mouse is not working very well. Okay, they have a pretty wide range of templates you can pick from. So this is a typical classroom site template, and these templates, some of them are made by Google, but some of them are just submitted. There are tens of thousands, if not more than that, of templates that users submit. In fact, I'm going to be submitting this website as a template that people can use, because I kind of built off of one of their templates and then changed it pretty dramatically. But so this, if you use this template, then it gives you this thing with everything already put in, and then you just fill in your information. So pretty easy way to make a teacher website. You could easily make your teacher website in under an hour that you're going to use for the whole school year if you're just the basic website that your school probably requires you to have. And then this can be embedded into your school's website pretty easily usually, so you might have to ask your tech person how to do that. One of the really neat things about sites that I think is probably the #1 thing I like about it is what they call gadgets. So the gadgets are things you can add to your site, and they include a lot of different stuff. So this is just, when you pop up gadgets, this was just what came up. So you can put in a Google Calendar, and we're going to look at some of these. Iframe, Iframe is a HTML thing. It basically allows you to input embedded web pages into a site, and it's really useful, and I actually used it a lot when I made this site. It does require a little tech knowledge to be able to do, but if you Google it, there's a lot of how-tos actually in the Google Sites help pages. So here's just some examples of some gadgets you might use. So this is what I use on my website. This is my Google Calendar. And when I added it, it shows all of the Google Calendars that I am a creator of, and also all the Google Calendars that I am a follower of, and it lets me, that are public, and it lets me choose which ones show up. So for this one, I actually have several different calendars, because I've got an exercise calendar, I've got a family calendar, my personal calendar, I've got classroom calendars, my dual credit calendar, and my Lone Star calendar. And so I just did for this one, this is my level U.S. history and my dual credit U.S. history calendars. So a student in either one of my classes could go onto my website, and they'll see this calendar color-coded to them that shows them what all we're doing. And so you see there they had the STAR test on the 6th. That was fun. And right now we're in the more fun time. The dual credit's doing a music video project, and they're both watching College Inc. on Frontline and learning about college costs and having a guest speaker. So a lot of fun stuff there. Drive files. So anything you have saved in a Google Drive, which if you've been using Google for a while, you may remember Google Docs. And Google Docs doesn't exist anymore. They renamed it Google Drive about 2012 because now Google is not just documents, it's everything, video. It's just basically a hard drive on the web, 15 gigabytes free. We'll get to that in a little bit. So any file that you have on your Google Drive, or even that someone has shared with you, if it's public, you can host it and it just inserts. It's just a drag and drop situation. Yes? Will we be able to go on to do this whole session again if we follow you on? Oh, yes. So what I'm recording right now, this is all being recorded, and it's going to be posted on YouTube, and it's going to be on. It's actually on my Google Plus page right now. So if you go on my Google Plus and look at my post, it says it's live right now. So it's live right now, and then at some point later today, it'll save on my YouTube channel. Yeah, this really neat thing about Hangouts is how it does that. Yes?
Can you add your Google Drive to here? You can do the option of only You instead of editing?
Oh yeah, yeah. If someone else is viewing this web page, like if you were to click on this Google A to Z document, you would not be able to edit it. You would be able to view it, you'd be able to copy and paste from it, but not edit it. Whereas I can go into Google Docs and edit it, and it's going to show those changes live on your screen.
When you share it, you know how you can choose to, the person that you're sharing it with, you can choose to let them edit or
right,
not.
exactly.
You can do the same with this.
Right, because what this is for your, I'm pretty sure that for these documents that you put on the sites, that it makes them just public on the web. I mean, it only does the ones that are public on the web, I believe. Actually, no, it doesn't. It does ones that aren't public on the web, so it makes them public on your site. But they still, no, they won't be able to edit it, no. Good question. Videos, so I'm going to play that one. YouTube clips, so that's a little different. When it says videos, this is a video that is not on YouTube. This is a video that's saved in my Google Drive. This is a file, and I can put that on there, but I can also just have YouTube clips or full YouTube videos. So this one is a video on how to make a wiki like this with Google Sites. So meta there. Maps.
Question.
Yes.
So when you embed a YouTube video, does it block out all the ads and stuff with it and just see the video?
I don't know if it blocks out the ads or not, because if you notice up here, I'm using Ad Blocker Plus, and so I don't see ads on YouTube. So, and that's my wife doesn't like that I use Ad Blocker Plus because she works for a company that posts content on the web, and they depend on ads for part of their revenue. And she's like, "You're taking money out of our bank account whenever you use Ad Blocker Plus." I'm like, "Well, yeah, yeah."
And
So
your YouTube site is your YouTube site reference. I mean, we could get.
it's on my Google Plus. It's connected, and actually, it's kind of interesting. So I've had YouTube since before. I've had a YouTube account since before Google owned it, because YouTube used to be a private company. And so, but I registered it with my Gmail account, because I had a Gmail account back when Gmail was. I'm a Google person, right? And so I have actually 2 different YouTube accounts, because one of them is from before that, and the other is my one that's through Google, but they use the same Gmail account. So I can't move the stuff from one to the other. And so for years, I've been using the old one, and then I started setting this thing up, and I realized that anything I do from Google Plus goes to the blank one that I've never used. And so it only has one video on it, and it's this video we're doing right now. So I moved all my I was able to move all my favorites, but it was complicated. YouTube is a little weird. Maps is another gadget you can add, so you can put maps on there. That's pretty useful. Google Plus posts. So Amy Mayer, who helped organize this is a post she did back in February. So that's where I started this website, I guess. And you can also put the Google Plus button, so you can click that and promote me on Google Plus. I'll go ahead and share it myself too. So you can +1, you can add +1 things and Twitters and all that kind of stuff. Though Twitter is not a gadget, you actually have to do that yourself as a link. And then here's an example. You can also this is where Iframe comes in. So Iframe allows you to embed websites into your website. So it's more than a link. Instead of a link on your website, there's actually a little box on your website where where the website that you want them to see is inside your website, so they don't even have to go click somewhere else. It's pretty neat, and that's what this is. So this is a project that my kids did for the past 2 weeks. Well, I think I gave them about 5-6 days to do it. A sample wiki project. So, this is actually this little pop-up thing that comes in. This is something you can do with sites, because this is another Google site that I made. Let's see if we can get it all in the frame there. If I'm going to zoom out. Yeah. So this little gray pop-up thing that came up, this will only come up the first time someone ever views the site, or I guess the first time they view it that day. And it gives them a little just introduction to the site. So it says this website is made as part of a high school end-of-year research/review project at Conroe High School. 11th grade U.S. history and dual credit U.S. history students were assigned topics and tasked with making faux Wikipedia articles over them. You can search the site for a term from U.S. history, 1870s to present, to find student-made articles. And so I put this together, so Chandlerpedia 2014 edition. So next year I'll have a separate site, Chandlerpedia 2015 edition, and I'll have to make this one private so that the students can all just go on there and steal the articles, because they'll definitely do that. And so I put this together. I have my kind of make it look like Wikipedia. They got the today's feature article, recently updated articles. This is all, by the way, this is fake. It did not automatically supply the updated articles. I just put those in there to make it look like it. But I can go to student articles, and this is the way I did it is I gave them a template with Google Drive, which I'm going to show you actually in a minute, that I made, and allowed them to either use my template or go off and do their own thing. And a lot of them went off and did their own thing, especially the dual credit kids. A lot of them just copy my template exactly, and that's fine too, because they put in their own information and their own pictures and all that. So I had them save it as Google Drives, as Google Docs, and then they shared it with me. And then I'm able then to just add shared files into this page. And so you can see all these articles, and this is actually not even all of them, I think. And so we can search in here, we can search for, Roosevelt and see what comes up. So 2 different ones. So my student Marlon made one called about Eleanor Roosevelt, and then this student who didn't put their name there did one on Franklin Roosevelt, so we can see what they did. And so you can see they made their Wikipedia page. And they did not copy this is someone who did not copy my template. They did their own version of it. So this was a pretty neat project because they had to go and do research. They had to they had to go and do research. They had to put together an original product, and they had to learn how to use Google Drive while they're at it, which I think is a valuable skill. It's going to become more and more valuable as years go by. So that is just one example of the kind of project you can do with Google, with Google Sites and then Google Drive. So I think next thing that we'll look at is Google Drive, since we were just talking about it. Okay, so Drive is really awesome. Has a lot of uses. You could really honestly have like just a whole day, 6-hour professional development just on using Google Drive. It's really versatile, has a lot of different uses. As I said before, it was started in 2012 as a competitor to services like Dropbox, iCloud, Box, and I don't know all the others. But I stubbornly still use Dropbox also, even though my Dropbox account has maybe 4.5 gigabytes of free space, and that's after me jumping through hoops to get it up from the original 2.5. And Google Drive starts off 15 gigs. 15 gigs of free space. And that's not counting your Google Sites account is, I think, 20 gigs of space, and your Gmail is, I think, 8 gigs of space or 4 gigs of space. So Google just, I don't know where they're getting all the space, but they've got a lot of space. You can also, if you are doing like some sort of business deal where you need a lot of space, you can get 100 gigs for $2 a month, which is really cheap. So, and then it goes up to where you get even more than that. They've got a whole suite. They've got a suite of different apps. The standard ones are document, presentation, spreadsheet, form, and drawing. And then you can add other ones. So you see, I took a screenshot from my Google Drive, and I have floor planner because I was messing around with like wanting to add additions to our house, just like dreaming of, when they give teachers a big pay raise, and we're going to do that. Yeah. And then Pixlr Editor, which is a pretty neat one that I use. That's a light version of Photoshop that's right there in your browser and really easy to use. I actually made a lot of the images in this presentation using that. Well, a few of them.
That one's free.
Oh yeah, that's all free. Anything that you can do on Drive is going to be free.
Well, but I got the video.
Mm-hmm.
You can only do a few things free, and then the things cost.
Okay. I didn't know that. Pixlr Editor, I've been using it for a while. It's always free. Yeah. It's very good. The big thing you have to get used to is you can't right-click because it's in HTML5, and so, or it's either in HTML5 or Java, and so right-clicking doesn't work. So you have to just get used to not right-clicking, but otherwise it's good. So you can do a lot of different kind of stuff. Basically anything you could do with Microsoft Office, but in my opinion, better for the most part. There's a few little things that I find that Google Drive isn't great at. One of the big things that I've found that I just pause it. I think you're watching the video. Yeah, that's okay.
I'll just.
Okay. No, that's fine. No, one thing I found with Google Drive when I discovered when I was doing this project, the Wikipedia project, was that the docs doesn't have columns. You can't do columns. The only way to do columns is you have to make a table and then make the borders invisible, which works just as well as columns, but it's kind of a weird random thing for them to not be able to do. But other than that, I found that Google Drive is just as good as Microsoft Office. Like little text boxes within the doc. I haven't tried to do that anyway. But the other thing, though, is that it does a super detailed revision history. Any edit you've ever made to that document, you can go back to that. You can go back to it and revise. So it's not a matter of just hitting Control-Z. I can open up a document I made 6 months ago, and I can basically just undo right off that. And that's something you absolutely cannot do with Microsoft Office. So that's really great. It also live saves. My kids kept, while they're working on it, they're like, how do I save it? I'm like, it's saved. As soon as you started typing, it's saved. It's been saving every like 3 seconds. So it's good. Which actually, if you pay for Microsoft Office's online services, then you can do that. But this is free. So some different. I just put some different possible uses you could do with Google Drive. A great one that I use, especially with my dual credit students, is student feedback. So, and I didn't. What I did here, for you to be able to see the feedback, I couldn't embed the document. I had to take a screenshot, so it's not live, whatever. But what you can do is, so I have students turn in papers over Google Drive, and then I can grade the paper and make comments all through the paper, give them their grade and everything, and they see it live while I'm grading it. So I mean, if they can go on there and they can watch me typing in stuff if they're doing it live. So the point of that is that it's formative feedback, because normally when a student writes a paper for you or does any kind of thing for you and you grade it and you make comments, 99 times out of 100 the student doesn't even look at your comments. But when it's like this, it's just so easy for them. It's like right there at the top, and they can actually respond to it. And the big thing is, why I said it's formative, they can make changes. They can make changes, and you can see when they made the changes, and you can give, maybe you give points for them, correcting and things like that. You can do rough draft, final draft, all one document. So it's there's a lot of neat stuff you can do with student feedback, which I like a lot. Revision history I already talked about. So this is an example of that. This was the sample wiki I gave them. I did a Wikipedia article on the Battle of Endor, which is from the end of Return of the Jedi. And so few of them got it. It made me really sad. Anyway, the revision history, you can see all these revisions I made. And I can go back and click one and say restore this revision, and it goes back. And it even shows me what I did in that revision. Like if I deleted stuff, it shows that it's crossed out. And so it tells me that's what's going to happen if I click that. But the thing is then if I don't like it, I can then go back up to this one, or this one, or this one, or down to that one, and change it. So the revision history is really amazing. And it actually saved me a couple of times. Specifically on this one, I accidentally deleted the whole thing and closed the window. And I just opened it back up, and it was a blank page. And I go, revision history, bam, it's up. So really great. Translate is pretty neat. So using Google's Translate app, it's actually integrated into Google Drive as well. You can type a document or open a document or copy and paste a document, and then just click translate. It's in the tools, translate document, and translate it into one of about, I think, 50 languages. 50 languages, including English, is what it was actually, is what it is. And so it's pretty neat. So here I translated it into Ukrainian, and it does it. And I think that's a really cool feature. And there's a lot of uses for that. I can think of a great one is communicating with parents who don't speak English. That's a big one. If you don't speak whatever language it is they speak at home, and you want to communicate to them, there you got it. You can write letters, you can write emails, whatever, to them. You could even post, if you have like a document that you want all your parents to see on your web page, you can put a version in Spanish or whatever other language might be necessary for that. Yes?
Yeah, so if you share a doc like that, parents can look at it, but you've allowed it view only, and they still translate it?
Yes. If it's view only, they can still translate it, because any document that you share with somebody, if they can click up in the file. It says File, Make a Copy. And they can make a copy of it for themselves that they can then edit and mess around with. So yeah, that's actually how this worked. Is I gave with the Wiki project, I gave them this sample one, and then I told them, all right, so I'm sharing it with you. Log into Google Docs, open up my the thing I shared with you, and then just click File, Make a Copy, and then make a copy of mine. This says Copy of Sample Wiki by Mr. Chandler, and then they just changed the information. That was how, when I said I gave them a template, that was how I did it, rather than actually post a template online and all that. Forms. So forms are pretty cool. I honestly, I almost made forms its own section on the website because I didn't even think about forms being part of Drive, because to me, forms is its own Google app that I use completely separate from that. You can do quizzes. You can do quizzes that are graded, or you can do quizzes that are just informative, or you can do quizzes that are just a fun warm-up. You can do all sorts of stuff. And it's pretty neat, and I'm going to show you something that's really cool. The main place I've actually used forms is Open House. I have a few laptops open at Open House with a parent questionnaire. What's your name? What's your kid's name? How can I reach you? What's the best phone number for you? And then here's what's really cool. So we're going to answer this one. So we've got a quiz here for my dual credit kids. Who wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin? Harriet Beecher Stowe. All right, who wrote The Jungle? Oh, very good. Must be some history teachers in here. All right, who wrote most of the Federalist Papers? James Madison and, okay, yeah, we'll do James Madison. And Alexander Hamilton. Who wrote the Virginia Plan? That's James Madison. There you go. So, all right, when was D-Day? All right, that's right, the 6th of June, 1944. All right. Oh, I thought it was the 5th of June. I don't know. How many amendments are in the Constitution? So I've got a multiple choice one here. 27, that's right. All right, so I submit. All right, so now watch this. My responses have been sent live to a, and it's not showing right here because I have to refresh the page. Actually, we can do that. There's the responses we just did right there. And so I could have a quiz thing at the top that says write your name. But honestly, I could also just see it myself. So this is a Google spreadsheet, and there it is. And we can look at the students' responses. And so this makes it so easy to grade. You can see when the kids took the quiz, who took it, and you can see all the responses. And then you can grade. You can even do conditional formatting to say, you know, highlight this answer in green and any other answers in red, and show you how many they got right. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do with that. So I think this is one of the neatest things about forms, that it sends the results to, that it can send the results to a spreadsheet. And it's a really simple thing to do too. All right, and so that was what I had to show you with Google Drive, just a few different things you can do there. The next one I'll show you is books. So I like Google Books. I am a big Amazon person, so I do. I have a Kindle, and I have Amazon Prime, and I probably, I mean, I don't even want to think about how many hundreds of dollars I spend on Amazon per, let's say, year. Yeah. But Google Books is also a very good repository of books, just like Amazon is. But it has some features that Amazon doesn't have, which are really good for the classroom. So we'll look at that. So Google has a vast library in the tens of millions of books, many of which are free, by the way, that you can search. You can find them either, you can go to Google Books, books.google.com. You can just do a Google search, and there's a Books tab in the search results. So you can see just book results. Or you can go to the Google Play Store, which is or the Google Play, no, it's not Play Store, Google Play, which is their app store, for not just for their devices, but also for other stuff. And so you can go on there and you can buy books that way too. There's just just so many books you can do buy or download for free. You can also preview any non-free book. I mean, any free book, you can read the whole thing right in your browser, of course. Any non-free book will have also previews you can look at. So there's one of my favorite books, The Wise Man's Fear. So anyway, some of the things you can do with this, search. So this is really neat. you can search within the full text of any book, free or not. Because the way copyright law works is even books that are not free, even books that say, like, because some book publishers say you can't even see a preview of our book, but they're required by copyright law to allow snippets of up to 3 lines of text from anywhere in the book to be viewable. And so if you do a preview of a book that doesn't allow previews, then it'll give you just a 3-sentence snippet. But because of the 3-sentence snippet is not any one particular snippet, then the search works on the entire book. So as long as your search is less than 3 lines long, you can search the text of any book, as long as there's an electronic copy of it for it to search, which even if it's not an electronic copy, they still have like the PDF like that you can search for the most part, I believe. So that's pretty neat. So you can see here, I did a search. I was looking for the line from Alice's Adventures in Wonderland of "We're all mad here," so I typed "all mad here," and it brought up this and highlighted the words from my search. Oh, you can't help that, said the cat. We're all mad here. I'm mad, you're mad, etc. All right. Textbooks. So obviously, as a teacher, if you're a teacher, you probably don't have very much power over what books get used in your classroom. But say you do, or say that you're a professor, which gives you a little bit more, or say that you're an administrator, which I hope gives you a lot more, then this is really neat that this is starting to happen, and it's still in its early stages. But more and more textbook publishers are putting more and more of their textbooks in ebook format, and the ebooks are typically cheaper than the physical copy, and it's just better for the world. And my dream is that someday we will not have these stacks of big textbooks in the backs of our rooms, that it'll all be online. That's what I hope. So this is an example. This is the American pageant, which is used in a lot of AP US history classrooms. And so you can see it right here. Ebook starting at $64.49. Pretty certain that costs more than $64.49 in hardcover. I'm thinking more like $100. So you're getting it cheaper there, and it's the full thing. It's in color. So pretty neat. You can search, and you can see previews of these too. So this is my favorite thing that I use Google Books for, and that is a classroom bookshelf. So I require my dual credit kids to do outside reading outside of the normal outside reading, because they already have to read for me every single night from a textbook and a primary document reader, and they've got a monograph. But on top of that, I make them read more, but except for pleasure, but for a grade. And I actually coordinate with the dual credit English teacher so that they can do one book for the 2 of us, and then they interview with one of us, or with both of us actually, and get a separate grade. And it works really well for the most part. But I like the classroom bookshelf, because what I can do is I can look up all the books that I want to be on that list and create a bookshelf on my Google Books account, and then make it public. And actually, by default, your bookshelves are public, and then which I probably some people don't like. But you can see there, so dual credit bookshelf. So this gives them the assignment, and then they can. This is a screenshot, so you can't scroll through it, but you can find it. They can go through this bookshelf, and they can see what books are available. They can see the previews. They can see how many pages it is, which is by far the thing they care about the most. I tell you, I have one book on here that's, I think, 195 pages, and I think 30 kids did that book the first 9 weeks. But then after that, they had to start moving up. I did have more than one student that picked like a 900-page. I think Count of Monte Cristo is like 900 pages. I had several girls that picked Count of Monte Cristo, and that was great. But anyway, so this is pretty neat. It lets them see what books they can view, and they could do this in another way. I can give them a printed out copy of this. I could just post a document or a PDF or something on my website. But I like this because they can actually go and read reviews of the books. They can see previews of the books and see if it seems like language they can understand. They can count the page numbers. And what's really neat is it says in the directions that if there's a book on the list, if there's an author on the list, they can look at that author and they can ask. They have to get it approved, but they can read a book that's not on the list that's by one of the authors on the list. And so I had several do that. They said, well, can I read, this book by so-and-so? It looks pretty neat. I'm like, well, no, because it's 50 pages, because it's not a book, it's a short story, so no. But you can read this one or that one. And so it lets them explore and learn. So I think the bookshelves are really neat.
Now, can more than one student at a time, and can like 30 students be reading the same book, or is it just?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're talking about for my, yeah.
Bookshelf.
Oh, using the bookshelf thing? Oh, I assume that, as many people as Google servers can handle. I mean, million people. Yeah, I would assume that 1 million people could view this at once with no problem.
So that could be a classroom set.
Oh, yeah, well, it is. It is a classroom set, yeah. No, they can't read the whole book unless it's free.
Right.
But there are a lot of free books on this list because there's a lot of. I didn't do a lot of classics because I really want to encourage them to love reading, like fall in love with reading. That's the thing that makes me so sad is, since I was a little kid, that was what I did. That was my main hobby was read. And so these books on here that are like 1,000 pages, this is what I was like sitting in the back of the classroom during homeroom when I was their age reading. And they, like the smartest, top kids, they don't read for pleasure at all. Like, at all. It makes me really sad. And so that's why we started doing this. And now, like, kids are, like, really excited. I think it's a great thing to do. But, yeah, I don't have a lot of classics on there, so not a lot of free stuff. But if it is free, they can download it to their...
If you pay for it, then
Oh, no.
Then that's one.
No, and I wouldn't personally do that. I let them pay for it if they want to buy it. Yeah, let them pay for it if they want to buy it. They're in the library. They can go to the public library. They can go. They'll find the ways to read them. But there's enough on there free that no one can say, oh, it wasn't fair. There's plenty on there free. No, I understand your question now. No, if I bought one, then it would be my one copy, and I can't share it with anybody unless they have like my password, and I'm not gonna give anybody my password. Yes.
What I was gonna ask is, I was looking at the free books, right now, and can you have these on an app so that they can read on? If they have an app, if this is home.
Oh, like themselves?
Yes.
They can. Yes, they can. They can read it in their browser. They can. There's a Google Books app that comes preloaded on any Android phone.
So
They can read it on an iPhone. They can read it on a laptop. They can read it any electronic device. Kindle. I don't think they could read it on a Kindle unless they bought it through Amazon, but they could do that.
So they get the Google Books app on an iPad, let's say,
Mhm.
and they use their Gmail account for.
They can go onto my
and they
bookshelf.
have this book on their
Right.
shelf, then they can read it on the iPad.
Yeah, they can read it anywhere. Like I've got, if you saw in the screenshot here, it says I have 4 books on Google Play because I said I use a Kindle, so I've got a lot more than that on my Kindle. But I have 4 books on Google Play. I can read those 4 books on my computer here. I can read them on a computer just like, at a public library. I can read them on my phone, on my iPad, wherever, any device. Yeah. And actually, I can read them on my Kindle. It's just reading them on the Kindle. You have to download them as a PDF, and then you have to USB connect, and it just isn't as easy because they want you to use Amazon.
I just didn't know there was a Google Books app. because
Oh,
I
yeah.
had
You don't hear about it.
Gmail account, but I haven't seen the
Right.
Drive app.
Yeah, you exactly. You hear about, oh yeah, I've got the Google Drive on my phone. It's one of the things, yeah. And Google Books, I've got that on there too. All right, the next thing I'll look at is Calendar. So I use Calendar a lot. The main thing I use it for, of course, is for assignments, which we saw earlier. So here's their, that same one we looked at a minute ago, only the colors are different. I don't know why they're different today. I mean, on this particular one. But so in this case, it looks like blue is dual credit and red is level. This time of year, they're kind of doing a lot of the same stuff, just a little differently. But anyway, so that's the main thing that I use it for, and it's pretty neat because on my teacher website, I have them actually on separate pages. I have a part of my site that's for dual credit kids and a part of my site that's for level. And so if they go to the level one, they're going to see just their calendar, which I think is the better way to do it. The way I've got it here, what's going to happen is someone who doesn't follow directions, doesn't read carefully, is going to look at this and say, "We have final exams today?" I'm like, no, because you're not in dual credit. Dual credit is the other class I teach half the day, but they won't get that. So and it will go the other way too. So I personally suggest having separate calendars on your website, one for level, one for dual credit, and have it clearly marked which is which. But here I was just showing you that you can do both. Appointment slots is something really new that I actually did not discover until I started preparing for this presentation, because I don't use my Google Teacher account. I use my personal Google account for everything. But my school, in my district, every single student and teacher in the district has a Google Apps for Education account. And a lot of your districts may have that also. If you do have a Google Education account, you can do this thing called appointment slots, which, by the way, I can then share with my personal account and then use with my personal account too, which I have done. So here's an example of one I did. So remember I said they have to read those books on their own. Well, to get the grade for it, they have to meet me after school and interview with me and prove to me that they read the book. So I can put these appointment slots. I can set up that on 5:15 I am free between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. and that I'm offering slots of 10 minutes each. I put those on there. Then they can log into their Google account, open up the calendar, click the empty appointment slot, and reserve it. And it will send me an email, an alert on my phone, and all that saying, you have an appointment with a book interview with Kelsey at 3:45. That's really neat. Really useful thing. I wish they would roll it out to just the general, Google public. But for now, if you have a Google Education account, you can do that. And so, pretty neat.
Well, actually, you could do that for conferences.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. For anything where you want to have people be able to reserve appointments. And see, you put the time you're available, the time block. So it's not like they can come and start reserving random time periods of you. It's based on when you've already said you're going to be free for it. So I think that's really neat. By the way, this website is what the QR code went to, so anything that we do today, if I'm going too fast or whatever, you will always be able to come back and look at. So how many social studies teachers do we have? A few, yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to show you all Earth. I don't know if you use Google Earth. I just play with it a lot. I just think it's really fun to play with. So I did some stuff. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff you could do outside of social studies. I'm going to very quickly show you some stuff that I did. So Google Earth, really kind of neat actually. It was developed for the CIA, not by Google. It was a private defense contractor working with the Defense Advanced Research Project Administration, DARPA, who were the people who invented the internet, by the way. And this private company was working for the CIA to develop basically a system by which they could take high-resolution images with spy satellites and kind of view the Earth in real time. And so anyway, the company then, they were given permission to make the tool public, and Google bought it and turned it into, and then released it to the public as Google Earth in 2005. And so it's pretty neat. So getting started with it actually is a little more complicated than most Google apps. Google Earth, you can do it in the browser, but you get the best experience by actually downloading the desktop application. So you can do it in the web. It's a plug-in for Chrome. You can have it on your phone, which is fun, but your phone's got to be pretty hefty, or else it's going to be kind of slow. It's a very detailed thing. The best way I found is to download it actually as a desktop program. So anyway, examples of Earth in the classroom. So historical maps. So Google actually has this whole section of they have so many. Google has so many apps that are buried that they don't advertise at all, that they're not listed even when you go to look at their different apps. And this is one of them. It's not Google Maps, it's Google Historical Maps. It's this whole separate thing. In fact, it's called Google Maps Gallery, I think. I found it just by using Google Earth, because in Google Earth they have a thing where you can look up historical maps, and then it takes you to your browser to this site. But it's pretty neat. So it has a big database of historical maps, a lot of which are from National Geographic. And I actually picked this one. It's funny because I have this map laminated on my back wall. But what you can do then, this is a screenshot I took from the Maps Gallery, and then here's the map. Actually, I ended up using a different one because that one was kind of hard to see. Here's another one I found, which is a course of the Mississippi River made by I want to say by LaSalle. So that goes back pretty far. It goes back to the 1700s. And you can see then on Google Earth, it overlays that map on the real-time thing of the Earth. So that's the kind of neat thing, just to put something a little more tangible to the kids. Viewing historical sites, so they can go and they can look at the pyramids and see what they look like from space, with a very powerful telescope from space. And then also see photographs. These photographs are photographs that people just take and post. These are not like necessarily professional photographs. A lot of these are just tourist photos. And all those little square-looking things there, those are camera icons. All those are photos people took around the Great Pyramids. So that's pretty neat. There's a lot more you can do with that. Here's something I did when I taught world geography. One of the objectives was they had to understand how the tilting of the Earth's axis results, and then the rotation around the sun, how that results in the different seasons. And so I used Google Earth to demonstrate that. I also to demonstrate latitude and longitude. And you can also do a lot of other stuff, show them the effects of urbanization, irrigation, deforestation. There's tools on Google Earth where it will sit there and show you time changes over time, and so they can see the changes of, like, the Amazon rainforest, for instance. You can watch the Amazon rainforest just receding as it's being cut down over the years. Google Earth has also been used. This was a pretty neat thing. I posted this on my Google Plus on May 13th, so you can find it. This was back in 2011 or 2012. Time Magazine got together with Google, and using Google Earth, they put together these time-lapse GIFs. And this is and there's a bunch of them, and they're all about various things. So you can see just in this clip right here, this thumbnail. This is the Columbia Glacier retreating because of climate change. And so this is really neat because we just studied climate change in my dual credit class, and then they're like, well, how much is? I'm like, well, let's look. And here's over 20 years, or I guess it's 27 years. We can actually see that. So here's Dubai, them building the artificial islands to expand out there. Urban growth around Las Vegas. Amazon deforestation there, that's what I was talking about there. You can see it. So pretty neat. So if you want to ever look at that, that's another kind of neat thing. Let's see. So another good one is, actually, let's look at YouTube first, and then we'll look at Hangouts. So they're related. So I use YouTube a lot in my classroom, both level and dual credit, just to kind of supplement what we're talking about, because there's just so many great videos to show. So that's the obvious way to use it, right? It's just to show videos. But there's a lot more you can do, too. If you're interested in doing flipped classroom, you have to have instructions for how to do the different stuff they're doing. I find that rather than repeating myself 1,000 times, record myself giving the instructions once, and then they have a link to click to find the instructions how to do stuff. Especially good for when there's students that are absent, which is a big problem at our school. We have lots of absences. So this is when I taught geography. I'll actually play this one just because it's kind of funny. This turned out to be extremely necessary. Sadly necessary. Look. Oh, a dot. You're not supposed to pour it. It's a dot. Yeah. Yeah, and it's scrunched because of the player on sites that I shrunk it, but still, you get the idea. So that was using a camera. That was using my document camera at my desk. But if you want to screencast, you can do what we're doing right now. So what I'm doing right now is I don't personally like programs like Jing. I don't like anything that kind of intrudes on my desktop. I like to do anything I can do from the browser, the better for me, because I kind of live in Chrome. And so this is you can use Google Hangouts to do screencasting, which is exactly what we're doing at this session right now. And it's going up on YouTube, but I could make that video private if I wanted to. So it doesn't have to be something that the public sees. I could do the live broadcast, make it a private live broadcast that no one can see, and then I can save it and share it as I like. So you don't have to do it like this one's going out to the world. But so I actually I'd never done that. I'd never done screencasting with Google Hangouts until I was getting ready for this session. And I realized I probably need to learn how to do that if I'm going to be able to do it, or if I'm going to be doing it. And so this is actually a video I found on YouTube where this is how I learned how to do it. So that's right there. You can watch that video at your leisure, and it explains exactly how to use Google Hangouts and YouTube to do screencasts of whatever you want to do. Very, very useful when you're doing any kind of computer thing, because it's really weird. You figure if you're born in 1996, you should be able to use computers really well. No, apparently not. They can use computers to use Twitter and Instagram, and that seems to be about it a lot of the time. Yeah, they know how to use their phones, but computers not so much. When you ask them to post something on Twitter and it's done before you get the sentence out of your mouth. Ask them to make a document, and they don't know how to copy paste. The whole time in Google Drive, there's no edit, copy, edit, paste, and they kept going. I can't copy paste. I can't copy paste. I'm like, Control C and Control V. That's been the shortcuts for it since the 1980s. Come on. But okay. Anyway. So other things. You've likely been using YouTube in your classroom for a while, I would think. Do you use playlists? Because if you do, you can share those playlists. At the moment, this one does not seem like it wants to show up, and I'm not sure why. But I embedded a playlist here that is publicly shared, though it's not showing up. Oh, wait, it's because of this. So Google Chrome thought that my playlist that I embedded was unsafe. Let's see if it'll let me do it now. Chrome, always looking out for you. Okay. I did the other day get it to stop doing this, but I don't remember how. But you can't, if you're not using Chrome especially. Chrome is just so safe that they don't want me to look at someone else's playlist just in case they, I don't know, put some bad video on there or something. But this is my playlist, so. Anyway, you can share your playlist with your students, and that's pretty neat. Are we getting about time to go? Uh-oh, okay. I think I was going to show you one more thing real quick, and that's Google Voice. If you haven't been using Google Voice, it's really great. So I use it as my point of contact with parents and students. If a parent wants to call me late at night, they can call my Google Voice number. It goes straight to voicemail. Is somebody calling me? It goes straight to voicemail. I don't answer it. Instead, I get an email on my phone with a transcript of their message and an audio recording of it for me to listen to and read at my leisure and then respond to as I choose to do so. Oh, I guess this is the move along music. All right, thank you guys. Remember, go to the website. There's actually some more stuff on there. Translate, Hangouts. So have a great day. Thank you for coming.